Yeah, Pebble, right? Eric's going?
Yeah, Pebble.
Awesome. And I completely agree with Justin. If you don't need to give up anything for the money you're getting in, then don't. I mean, even with revenue, you are giving up, you know, some part of the roadmap. You're catering to your customer, etc. But you know, it's a tough question. I think the different types of funding sources, because the capital efficiency of companies have changed so dramatically over the past couple of years. You don't really need that much capital anymore. So it really depends on what kind of company. Again, it's a cop-out answer. It depends on what kind of company you're starting. You know, companies where you are building the consumer product, you actually need to do hardware development, you probably need to get some cash up front. You can go to a place like Kickstarter. If you're doing it in the enterprise space, you could do NRE. More likely, you probably raise from a venture investor that believes in that space, right? My personal bias is don't raise venture capital if you don't need it, because we take a lot of equity, we provide some value, probably not the amount of value the equity is worth, but sometimes you have no choice, and sometimes we really can help. But more often than not, if you're able to just corral the resources yourself, just based on your passion base and getting, you know, really interested angels involved, these days, and I would imagine most of us here would be starting a consumer-based company. You have something that you really want to use and you want to see the rest of the world use it too, or you think the world will be a better place with it. Those companies don't cost that much to make anymore. And you can raise the $2 million angel round, where before that was $200,000. You know, and $2 million gets you a long way, gets you a really long way. So yeah, all sorts of different funding sources. I just say, get the cheapest one possible. I think Justin's point is right on.
Just to quickly add just one more thing on top of that, if you do decide you need funding for your business, and I think, you know, some people do end up deciding, okay, we want to go big very quickly. One is, I think you should have a valid reason, like within yourself, as to why you want that funding and what you're actually going to use it for. I know some companies actually get funding and they're like, okay, well, we actually don't need all of this right now, so, you know, what should we do? It's a nice cushion, but they don't actually have a plan forward with the money. The second one, I think, is probably the best time to raise is, you know, once you have kind of figured out a viable business model or some product that people want and you're getting traction, and then you need money to grow sales, to scale it out, to, you know, hire salespeople or hire marketing people or do advertisement. That's probably where you have the most leverage as far as getting the best valuation for your company. You know, on the investor side, there's a lot less risk. They can see that, you know, maybe, you know, it already has legs as opposed to funding a new idea that's not very proven. So if you do go out for capital, I would say get it to try to scale your company.
I feel like I need to just jump in as well, and 100% agree with Jonathan's statement that the cost of capital, venture capital, is quite high, but just to extend, so if you can avoid and find other sources, I think that is the rational thing to do. But on the flip side, to Nori's point, I just want to be one more step provocative with that. If your engine is running, if your cost of acquiring a new customer is less than the profit you will derive from their revenue stream going forward, it's almost irresponsible not to go raise more capital and fund that machine, because basically the market is telling you we're wide open, we're accepting you, we want your product, we want to pull your business through. And so as an entrepreneur who's with the vision of let's get as big as possible, now's the time to go for it. So just want to make sure that point gets across. And lastly, make sure I also highlight folks like SVB who work with the entrepreneurial community, you know, from your beginnings, but also as you grow up and you have sort of blending needs. They've been great for our portfolio, just being very hands-on and collaborative about the types of lending products that startups will need over their lifetimes.
So I agree with everything what everyone's said here. Only thing I would like to add is I think Tim gave a good talk this morning, the part where he say N-1, right? And Noel talk about the value change earlier along the process. And I think that is the time when you evaluate when you need funding or not, right? So your ultimate goal, you're moving forward to N-1, what you would do to get there. And at that time, you plan your business model, your product, and you figure out if the resource, you need a lot of resource, then you have to go out there and raise capital in order to find resource and put them in. And Tim said the same thing, you know, all the value change, but at some point you put a change what you invert, then the certain product is companies marketing, all those videos not cheap to make and all those relationships not cheap to pay, right? And sometimes it's all about product development, could be a relationship building and a marketing as well, and you need a lot of capital and a lot of help from different partners to put in as well. So I think that's a time when you have the ultimate vision moving forward, your product start to work, you start to formulate your idea, your business model, then you figure out how to get there. And in that process, you say, how much money should I take, or how much money do I need, or do I need any money? And that's the time where you start to decide and weigh the pro and con of that.
So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, or a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, think, okay, I want to go and do a startup, and I want to go raise money. I think I need to write a business plan. So I would love to hear from you guys, how important is it to write a business plan? Because that can seem like a pretty daunting project, or is that even necessary? Paul, I would love to get your take on that.
I would love to get his VC perspective on that. Normally when I talk about the business plan, when they ask me. So anyway, but to be honest, in early days, the stage of the company, even though you don't have a formulated business plan, but you have to think about how you can make the money of the product you're going to build. You have to think about it. So therefore, and then, after you make a connect, okay, I think this is something people use, then you have to think about how to make money, and you start to iterate to it. So that way you can sustain your lifestyle, so you can, build a business and have growth. And capital is not a free society. So therefore,
Yeah, so I think you definitely don't need a business plan, but I think you do need to have an understanding of, like Hong just said, how you're going to make money. There have been a number of times where I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, we should go do it, and then you do some back of the envelope calculations about, okay, well, how much of the market can I get? How many, let's say, real estate agents are there out there? How many of those real estate agents are willing to pay for my product? And how much revenue is that for me? Oh wait, it's like not enough to support my salary. Crap, I can't do this idea, even though I really like it. So I think being at least practical about your idea and examining, just to make sure that it's a viable business, is an important part of it. I don't think you need a plan, but I think you need to do some back of the envelope calculations.